In this tutorial, we will create an animated infographic in the Inovista Animator that shows a corporate process. 3 circles will be presented, each in a different way. They will be linked by arrows and a text item will be shown in each. Let's take a look at the raw SVG in an editor. In this case, I'm using Inkscape, but most editors will be acceptable. We can see the 3 circles, each with a semi-opaque color, a texture item, and they are separated by arrows. We are only interested in 8 elements, and I've given each a recognizable ID. Okay, moving to the Inovista Animator, use the file icon to navigate to the SVG file and open it. In the Image Project section, we can set the background and image sizes until we have what we want. Opening the element tree on the left, we can see the list of elements in the image. We can select an element in the tree or directly in the image by clicking on it. Selecting Circle 1, we are going to move this off the page and scale it to 0. The first animation will move this into place while resizing to its original scale. To create a transition, select the edit text next to the element. Then in Transitions below, select New Transition. From the pop-up list, select Combination. Opening the newly created combined transition, open the Movement section and select the Include D checkbox. We are going to send the circle off the page, so for X and Y, select Go to Pixel in the drop-downs. Change the PX toggle buttons to %, enter 120 in the X field and -20 in the Y. If we now click the Run button under the image, we can see the circle leave the image. Let's also scale the image to a 0 size. So open the Scale section and click the Include checkbox. As we will scale on the center point, leave the Scale on point drop-down as is, and enter 0 for both X and Y. Running this again, we can see the scale effect. As we want this to be the opening condition, set the duration at the top to be 0. This means the effect will happen instantly. However, sometimes we may get a flicker when we initialize the image. So let's go back to the circle in the element tree and click on the editor icon. We can set the initial state to invisible by selecting Hide and OK. This means we will have to make the circle visible. So back to the transition, include and open the Attributes section. Enter a 1 in the opacity field. This field takes a range of between 0 and 1, where 0 is completely invisible and 1 completely visible. Now by clicking on New Transition again, we add a chained transition. Here we will move the circle back to its initial location and resize it to its original size. Open Movement and Include. Within the movement options is a global option at Home, which we can enter to send the element to its original location. So enter at Home for both X and Y. To resize, open Scales, select Include, then set X and Y to 1. In fact, these are the default values, so we don't have to do anything other than select the Include. Running that, we can see that it is the effect we want. Next, let's hide the internal text and make it visible after the circle is in place. So back to the element tree and select Text 1. We can see it has a T-span child, but here we are only interested in visibility, so we can hide it by clicking on the eye toggle icon next to it. Then select the Edit option. New Transition and Combination Transition. We want to make the text visible after the circle is in place. So looking at the timeline, that will be 500 milliseconds or half a second. So in the delay field, enter 500. Open Attributes and enter a 1 in the opacity field to set the text visible. The first arrow is the next element to look at, so select Edit and create a new combination transition. We will scale only the x-axis to 0 again, but this time by scaling using the left center point. We want this to be the initial state, so select the duration to 0. Again, to avoid flicker, let's hide it initially in the element tree and make it visible in the attribute section of the first transition. Now select New Transition, then Combination to chain another transition to this one. Here we want a delay, so looking at the timeline, we can see the length of the animation at this point is 1000 ms or 1 second. So enter 1000 in the delay so that this transition starts then. Open and include Scale. Set the scale on point to left center as before and leave both X and Y as 1. Run again to test. For the second circle, we are going to draw its outline and set the internal fill to invisible. So select this circle either by clicking it or its name in the element tree. Click the editor icon to open the initialization form. Here we are going to set the internal part to invisible. Note that the fill opacity is 0.36 dash. Remember this as we will reset that value later, but for now set this to 0. We are going to sketch the outline and we'll do this with the dash array properties. We can see the path line is 1, 2, 3. So set the dash array to 1, 2, 3 and also the dash offset to 1, 2, 3. This will move the outline so that it is invisible. Select Edit and create a new combination transition. The length of the animation is now 1500 ms, so set the delay to 1500. To simulate a sketch, we keep the dash array at 1, 2, 3, but set the dash offset to 0. Chain a new transition. In this transition, we will make the center fill visible. We don't need to set a delay as this transition will occur after the previous one has finished. Open Attributes and set Include. In the fill opacity section, reset the set value to 0.36. We will repeat for text 2 what we did with text 1, only making the delay longer, 2500 millis. We will also repeat for arrow 2 what we did with arrow 1, creating 2 scale transitions based on a left center scale point, but this time with a delay of 3000 ms on the second transition. For the final circle, we will initially move it off the top of the image and have it bounce into place. So to save time, open the editor icon next to circle 3 and hide it. Then create a new combination transition, set the duration to 0, and open and include movement. Then move the y-axis minus 160 pixels. This will move it past the top of the image. Also select Attributes and set the opacity to 1. Chain another transition, setting the delay to 3500. Open and include a movement, and this time set the y-axis value to at home. In the easing drop-down, select Bounce Out. There are quite a number of easing effects, so you can experiment here if you like with a different effect. That leaves us with text 3, the final text item. In the Elements tree, select the eye icon to hide it and select Edit to create a new combination transition. In the transition, set the delay to 4000 and in Attributes, set the opacity to 1. Now running the app, we can see it behaving pretty much as we defined it initially. Up to this point, I have entered durations and delays directly into their respective fields, but I can also do this by dragging items in the Transition Editor panel. Click a transition to open its definition on the left-hand side. Each transition group can be opened up by clicking the arrow on the left. Drag pins pointing down to change the duration and pins pointing up to change the delay. Thank you for watching this video. Please check out our other videos for more detailed tutorials on how to get the best from the animator.